Good evening and welcome to our virtual open evening. My name is Simon Holmes and I'm the principal of MVC. Just a few housekeeping items here. If you want to ask a question during this event, then please, if you hover over the screen and you find the speech bubble with a question mark in it, then you're able to ask questions, some of which we'll answer live during the event and some of which we'll answer separately afterwards. So to begin then, my name is Simon Holmes and I'm the principal here at MVC. And you're here tonight because you have a very important decision to make. Last year, I had the same decision to make as you, only it was a lot simpler. I had a year 6 child and I was able to go around the schools and visit my local school. I wanted to try and understand its context and what it could offer and understand the school itself. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're just not able to do that. Hence, we have events such as this, which will become more common. I wanted to look behind the headline figures from my son's potential schools. I wanted to look to understand what it was that made each school tick, what was the culture, the atmosphere, and the wider offer. I also wanted to know about the journey the school was on, because every school is somewhere on a journey. How does the school see itself progressing? As I said, unfortunately, this year we simply can't do that, but we have this, and hopefully this will be some help to you along with other things that we'll talk about later. So in my role as a head teacher, I have 630 children who I care about, who I am responsible for. Last year, like you, I was the one visiting and choosing a school for my son, and I was responsible for only one child, and that school had to be right for him. So we're going to start with some presentations, some slides here, and I'll take you through some of these. Okay, so what to look for. Waiting for technology to catch up with me here. It says it's sending. Okay, so it's here now. What to look for. How do you know that the school that is good today will be good in 5 years' time? Every school has its ups and downs, and no journey is completely straightforward. Statistics can't tell you the whole story about individuals. Raw attainment figures can tell you as much about a school's intake as its success, and statistics can be presented in many different ways. I could tell you, for example, that between 2018 and 2019, we improved the progress of our higher ability students by about 5 grades on average. But as we all know, exam grades were generated by schools this year, so from 2020, it's even less information than usual. However, behind the statistics and headlines are a school's beliefs and principles. At Melbourne Village College, we believe that everybody is somebody. It's central to everything we do. This school doesn't have 630 pupils, it's a community of 630 individuals, each with their own interests, strengths and needs. Our job is to get to know these individuals, what makes them tick, whether they respond better to the carrot or the stick, whether they're extroverts or introverts. Only by doing this can we get the best for them. And here's how we do that. We see that we have 4 overlapping themes to our work. I'm going to take you through each one of those one at a time. So first of all, a focus on progress. Everyone is different. That's why comparisons of schools achieving grade 4+ in English and maths are meaningless without knowing the ability of the intake that started at the school. Careful tracking. Lots of data is available to yourselves in real time, and you'll hear more about that later on. Pushing the best. Was a focus for last year and the year before, which is, as we talked about earlier, the fact that we improved the grades of the higher ability, because it was an area that we noticed was something that we wanted to work on because it wasn't where we wanted it to be. And it's not just about the academic. We want students to improve their confidence speaking in front of audiences. You never know when it might become useful. Enjoy and make progress in sport, music and other enrichments as young adults. But you can't learn if you're not happy and you're not feeling safe. So that has to be our first priority. And in addition to tutors and the system you'll hear about later, we have a team of 4 pastoral staff trained in mental health and employed specifically to help support children through difficulties. The relatively small size of the school benefits us in getting to know each individual and them getting to know each of their teachers. We add extra support where it's needed. We want all of our children to experience as much as possible. So where we can, we will try and support people in terms of providing funding for trips, for enrichment, and so on. When we've run enrichment after school, we've provided free transport home for children at 4 o'clock to enable them to access that. We didn't want anybody to not be able to do that for financial reasons. So we try and support. And we have a student support centre and we have a facility known as the Cabin, which both provide additional support for students. And you can find out a little bit more about them from our webpage, which we'll talk about towards the end of this presentation. We believe in a principled curriculum. What we are trying to do is to ensure the best preparation for the 21st century. We are preparing our children, your children, the pupils here, for jobs that don't yet exist in many cases. And so it is important that we are talking about skills-based learning, that they can take their learning and apply it in whatever way they need to moving forwards. Our curriculum is wide-ranging and it's inclusive. In art, we include pottery as well as the fine art. In languages, we have a European and a non-European language, and we do full range of technology and catering. We also have the extracurricular activities. We usually have a wide programme of after-school activities plus trips to Spain and to Rome, and we've been to CERN in Switzerland as well. Obviously, at the moment, the extracurricular activities are a little bit limited due to the pandemic, but we're obviously keeping our eye on that and seeing what we'll be able to do as soon as possible. We will be starting some of our extracurricular after school clubs again after this half term, because we're keen to get things running as soon as possible for all of our students. And you don't just need to take my word for it, because we have won an award for transforming practice in principled curriculum design. But we're not complacent. We're still working on developing our curriculum and the offer for the children. We're innovative and we're proactive. As I mentioned earlier, we have 2 languages for all students from Year 7. They study Mandarin and they study Spanish. We're the first school in Cambridgeshire to be offering Mandarin as part of our core entitlement from Year 7, and we started that 5 years ago. Our first students are now in Year 11, and again, because we want to ensure their progression, we have been working with a local sixth form to ensure that there will be A-level Mandarin available for our students when they leave here to enable them to continue their studies. And that's something that simply wouldn't have happened without our input. So again, that's the way that we are forward thinking and looking to make sure that we've got everything we need for our students. We talked about the enrichment program earlier. It's really important. My hobbies began when I was at school, a number of them. So it's really important that we give children the opportunity to experience different sports, musical activities and other interests. So we have had a film club, we have had a craft club, all sorts of things have gone on. If students have wanted to do it, then we've worked hard to put that on. Enrichment is open to all. It's free where possible, unless there is a cost to us. For example, we did do some off-site work last year, so there was a small cost for that. And then we have the free transport home. We're also IT, including iPads. We have all got a lot better at using information technology in the last few months, with staff using that to help support children at home. And we are continuing to develop that. We have a training day tomorrow, and part of that training day will be looking at our use of IT and improving that, for example, for children who are at home self-isolating, and also how we use that in our lessons. And we have a programme in place to introduce iPads within the school, and you'll be hearing more about that during the year. In addition to that, we are also planning for expansion, and we've met with the local authority. This school has expanded by over 40% in the last 5 years. That's a huge expansion for us, and it's a real vote of strength, vote of confidence in what we're doing at the school. We've working with the local authority in order to think about how that will work in the future, what buildings we might need, and also a little tiny bit more about what's currently happening in a minute or two. So there are other examples as well of where we won't just look at the status quo. So 2 years ago, our art department changed exam board, and as a result of that, the following year, 8 out of their 15 pupils achieved a grade 9. So it's by our professional staff looking at what they're doing, not just sitting and being happy with what's happening, but thinking about it and seeking to improve that. And this year we have expanded our senior team as part of our commitment to driving the school forwards even further. I'm now going to hand you over to one of our new senior team, Miss Boniface.
Good evening, I'm Joanne Boniface and I'm one of the new assistant principals here at Melbourne Village College. Just waiting for technology. Here at Melbourne, we want to help prepare pupils for their life after school. So to help pupils develop the traits that will allow them to be successful, we have 3 keys to success that underpin everything that we do here. Our first key is to be ready. So we want pupils to be on time to school and to lessons and to turn up prepared with all of the equipment they need and all of the correct uniform. Our second key is to be respectful, so that's them being respectful to everyone and everything that we have in our community to really give them a sense of belonging. Our third key is to be responsible, so that's responsible for the learning and the safety of themselves and others around them in the class. In order to support pupils in school to develop these traits, we've got lots of staff on hand to help them. So every pupil that joins us will be given a form tutor. They will see their form tutor every morning, and this will allow them to have a conversation with them when they get into school and set them up for their day, make sure they've got everything that they need and settle them in. The form tutor will stay with them throughout their time at the college, which will allow the pupil and their families to build a strong relationship with them so that that member of staff becomes their main point of contact. Leading on all of the form tutors, we've got our heads of year, who lead on the year group and work really closely with their team of tutors to support all of the pupils. We also have a wider pastoral team within the school that can work on different areas and provide specific support for them. Our main goal is for pupils to have a really positive experience in school. So one of the ways that we do that is we actually involve pupils in some of the changes that we make that will directly affect them. So we have regular opportunities for people to have their say. One of the most recent examples of this is we are working on our reward system and we're developing it so that the students feel really valued in all of the work that they do and they're receiving lots of rewards to help them feel part of the community that we have got and that we are working with. We also have our Year 11 prefect team that will work. There we go. We also have our Year 11 prefect team that will work really closely with our Year 7s, who are actively involved in the induction process, as we like to encourage peer support as well. At home, you can track your child's progress using our Go for Schools app. On the app, you will be able to see their timetable, monitor any homework they've got, and see the rewards that they are given in their lessons in real time. You'll also see the reports that are sent home so that you can keep up to date with your child's academic progress. Thank you, and I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Mr. Wilder.
Good evening, my name is Ewan Wilder and I'm an assistant principal here at Melbourne Village College. The areas that I oversee include support at Melbourne Village College, as well as the transition from year 6 to year 7 and transition from year 11 onwards into post-16 provision. I'm just going to get the presentation back up and running. It's just loading. Okay. So, additional support available at Melbourne Village College. It's been alluded to so far, but I can offer a little bit more of an insight into what that actually entails. And it's meant to encapsulate the everybody is somebody phrase, which we deem very, very important. So we have 4 dedicated pastoral liaison officers, all of whom offer support to our students. We have the attendance pastoral support officer who encourages excellent attendance, and we aim to reward students for this. If attendance to school is a challenge, then we can, will and really want to support the students as best as we possibly can. And we have a non-teaching member of staff who can help in that process, as well as other members of staff within the school. We have a mental health liaison officer, whereby students will learn about their well-being and mental health in PSHE lessons. They'll learn about it in tutor time and assemblies, but we also have a highly trained and experienced member of staff who can help with support here. They also have access to all the relevant outside agencies. We have a liaison officer who oversees the safeguarding within the school, and this underpins everything that we do and allows us to ensure that the safety of all students is treated with the utmost importance. Lastly, we have somebody who oversees the pupil premium and young carers provision. So this member of staff has oversight over how we support access to trips, events, and engagement with school in general. If things are a challenge for students, we have a strong and very supportive layer of experienced non-teaching members of staff who are passionate about what they do and really, really do care. In terms of transition from year 6 into year 7, or from primary school into secondary school, again, everybody is somebody is a really, really important aspect of this. So to ensure that students feel welcomed and that they do feel as though they can develop a sense of belonging here, we will visit primary schools to gather information from key staff at the primary schools, and that will tend to happen towards the end of the second term, if not at the beginning of the summer term. We will meet students and classes. We will speak to them about the process of transition and preparing to start at Melbourne Village College. Part of that may be that our prefect team will be involved, whereby they can be involved in visits, or if that's not possible due to the pandemic, then we'll be looking at using virtual versions of that so that the primary students can really understand from current students what it's like being at Melbourne Village College, and they may even be able to give some hints and tips on how to succeed here. Further events that we would hope to have would include transition sessions, so that could be at the primary school, it could be at Melbourne Village College, but definitely transition days towards the end of the summer term as well. However, again, we are prepared that some of these may have to be virtual. We are hoping that our prefect team, as I mentioned, would be heavily involved in this process as well. And lastly, the smaller nature of the school can make the transition from primary to secondary much less daunting. We get to know the students very, very quickly because we are a smaller secondary school, and that can be really attractive for prospective year 6 students, whereby coming to secondary school can be daunting, but equally an incredibly exciting time for them. So I'm now going to pass back to Mr. Holmes, who will take things forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilder. So I just want to talk about a couple more aspects of the school. So first of all, we are part of a larger organisation. We think there are real benefits to being a small school, getting to know the children and supporting them and so on. But as anyone who knows about business is aware, then there are economies of scale that do arise from large organisations. So that's why we are part of a larger organisation, the CAM Academy Trust. The CAM Academy Trust is an organisation of 11 local schools, 4 of which are secondaries, 7 of which are primaries, and we're connected by 5 shared principles. First of all, the excellence principle. We believe that education has to be of the highest standard. Secondly, comprehensive. We are about education for all, for everybody. Anyone who lives in our community, anyone who moves into this community should be able to come to their local school, and we believe that very strongly. Education rooted in the local community. We are a part of Melbourne and the surrounding villages that we serve, and therefore we will seek to help. That's why we've said, for example, earlier on, that we've tried to make sure that all the children can access enrichment and be able to get home from that and aren't disadvantaged by the fact that they live in a village that's a few miles away, for example. Schools working in partnership for mutual benefit. We all work with each other within the trust and with schools outside the trust, and that brings us a lot of benefits, because it means we can share schemes of work, we can share activities, we can share expertise between all the different schools, and that is to the benefit of all of us. And education with an international outlook. So we do need to help prepare our children to be global citizens. And so we are very interested in looking beyond just the England and the UK and trying, hence, for example, why we said that we are bucking a trend, if you like, and doing 2 languages with everybody from year 7. And in fact, that change to Mandarin for us has increased our language take up at Key Stage 4, and we really do look forward to their results when they go through and get their results. So we are part of that wider organisation, which allows us to be small most of the time and large when we want to. And for us, we feel to get the best of both worlds. So thinking about the future, we are planning for growth. And we're doing that in 2 different ways, really. First of all, our systems and culture, because as the pupil numbers grow, it's important that we maintain the culture that we have, and we look to improve our systems to make sure that they work with a slightly larger number of students. Now, one of the questions in the Q&A that came through during this evening was, what are our projected pupil numbers in 5 years' time? Well, we are never going to be a huge school. We are looking at potentially getting up towards the 700 or 800, getting towards 1 more form group in each year. So most of our year groups have 5 form of entry in them. So we're talking about 140 children. So we're talking about probably, by the time 5 years has gone past, of getting into that 6th form of entry, getting up to about 150, 160 children in each year group. So we're not talking about year groups of 200 or 300. And as we do develop, obviously, as well, then we'll need to make sure that we're getting the facilities. And that's where we move into things like the changing rooms. We have, if you have brothers or sisters of your children here at the moment, then they will know that we have a lot of work going on. We have some work going on our PE changing rooms. We're building a 2nd set of changing rooms, and we're improving the toilet facilities as we do that and expanding them at the same time. Again, this is to work with larger numbers, and we're really delighted. Hopefully people will have seen in the Royston Crow or elsewhere that we are replacing the AstroTurf at the school. Some of you will be aware of that. It's quite an old facility. It's been very, very well used, and we're really delighted. We're going to get a new high quality AstroTurf from working with the FA. This is an £800,000 investment, and we will end up with a facility 4 times the size of the one we currently have, and that's going to be an amazing facility for the use of our students during the school day, and then the community in the evenings and the weekends. So it's absolutely brilliant. And this is just the start. As I said, we're working with the local authority to think about where we go next as we might develop further. So raising the achievement of boys. We need to do that because our performance mirrors the national performance. At the moment, boys here do slightly less well than girls, as they do nationally. We don't want that. We want things to be the same for the boys and girls. And actually, if we teach the boys well, the girls will benefit as well. And finally, we want to continue to prepare children so that they are best placed to be successful in a changing world. We want to treat your children like they're our children, to give them the education you want and the education I want for my child. That's our commitment to you. So, next steps. Well, this presentation will be available soon on the web page on our website. So under About Us, there's a section for the Open Evening 2020. If you go on there now, then there is an introductory video to the school already, which you can look at. That includes some comments from some of our Year 7s and some of our Year 11s. So please do go and have a look at that. Also on that page, we've put for you the Year 7 Parental Handbook, which gives you some information about the sort of work that we're doing at the moment and your child will be doing when they join us in Year 7. Normally at this point, I'd be saying to you, come round and have a tour of the school. And unfortunately, I can't do that. It's a real shame because everyone that we take around the school, you know, enjoys that experience, makes a comment about the calm atmosphere that they see going round the classrooms. But at the moment, I can't do that. I would be delighted to take you around the school. It would have to be at the end of the school day. But if you do want to do that, then please phone us up or email the office on the email address there, which is also on our website. If you think of any more questions, then please send those in as well. If you haven't looked at the chat, then please do, because a number of questions have been asked during the evening and some of the answers are on there. So please do have a look. Now, just so there's just one more question that somebody has asked. As I say, most of the questions we've been answering during the evening, so hopefully you'll have either had a reply directly to yourself or it will be on the Q&A. So do have a look on the Q&A. There was one question that was about our Progress 8 score and our view of that. Now, we don't have a Progress 8 score for 2020 because of the way exams were done. The children achieved better in 2020, but I'm only really going to be able to talk about 2019 and 2018. We were pleased that there was an improvement from 2018 to 2019. Are we happy with that? No is the short answer. We want it to be better than that, and that is what we are working on very hard to improve that. That's why we review what we do. Even this year, when we've given the exam results ourselves as a centre, we're still reviewing the process we went through, other information that we could use in order to improve that process and make sure that this year feeds into our improvements for next year and our processes. So we're still working on that. We've got a number of initiatives going on in the school at the moment. In fact, one of them is about the way that we teach, agility within lessons, the way that we get information back from children. We find out how things are progressing in the lessons. Actually, it turns out that's particularly useful at the moment when we're in the situation where we can't go round and help children individually as we normally would, because we're having to socially distance from children. So all of those sorts of things we are doing, and we're trying to improve what's going on all the time. So we would say that we would expect that improvement to continue and then to feed through for the following 5 years. Okay, so just like to say thank you very much for turning up and watching this video. As I said earlier, please go back to the website. Please have a look at the introductory video that's on there. We will be posting additional material on that, and we will talk to primary schools when that's up and try and make sure that you're aware of that so that you can come back and look at things. As you'll appreciate, it's quite early in the year for us to be doing the open evening, and so there will be more things that go on there in the next few weeks. If you have any more questions, please get in touch with us or just email the office. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you next year.